Alright guys, here we go with the much awaited mini-series video. So to begin, you're going to need two of the little house picture frames that came out around Mother's Day, and two of these signs also that, they came out around Mother's Day, something like that, and four of the smallest canvases from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start off by removing all the canvases from the frames so that all we have left are the wooden frames. And once I was done taking all the canvases off, two of the frames were kind of messed up and the wood was really bad, so I had to go find some extra ones, and they came off of other projects, so they had like glue on them and stuff. So it's not a big deal. You just kind of sand it off and make it work. But after I was done doing all of that, see, here are the ones that were just kind of messed up. You never know what these Dollar Tree canvases are going to look like underneath, but you just make it work. So then I'm going to remove all of the inserts to all of the frames, and I'm also going to remove the little fasteners that are in there, and these come out pretty quick, pretty easily. You just take your pliers and just pull straight out, and they all come out really easily, and you just have to be careful because they can break the frame. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my little hand sander and I'm going to sand down all of the frames. For the house ones and the bigger ones, I'm doing this to kind of roughen them up a little bit so that the paint and the glue sticks better, just because they have like a covering to them, so they don't really stick very well. The paint doesn't adhere to it very well. And then I just smoothed out all of the canvases so that everything is, looks good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take three of the tumbling tower blocks and I'm going to measure to see, well, I measured initially to see how many I was going to need, and it was three of them. So I just went ahead and glued those all together the way you see me doing here, and they were the perfect size to fit to the bottom of the house, only because when I was done putting the whole thing together, there was a gap underneath the house, so I used that to kind of fill that gap up so that everything was even. And then I just went ahead, sanded it down, smoothed everything out, and glued those three Jenga blocks to the bottom of each of the houses. So I did this for both of them. And then once I was done doing that, I went ahead and started putting the house together. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue the two houses to the two bigger frames. Now, had I been thinking before, doing all of this, I was just really trying to get everything together, and I didn't know what color I was gonna paint it or anything, so I just went ahead and put it together. But if your picture frames don't have the glass to it, there's a step a little bit later where I add plastic to make like the glass part of it, because I didn't like the way that it looked without it. You might want to do that now, add the glass to it, or paint it and paint all the pieces and then add the glass to it, just because it'll make it a lot easier. I added an extra step and I had to, maneuver my way through the little greenhouse here. So this is what it looks like when it's all put together. And then what I did with the canvases was I glued two of them together the way you see here, and that's going to be the top, because I wanted it to open up from the top. So once those were glued together, like you see here, I just kind of measured just to make sure that everything kind of fit on there the way that I wanted it to, and two on each side fit these frames perfectly. So then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put hinges on each of the two picture frames, I guess. You'll see what I'm talking about right here. And guys, I tried to screw them in there. These hinges are like the smallest ones that I could find at Menards. I know that places like Hobby Lobby or on Amazon, you can find like the really small dollhouse hinges. So if you want to use those, that's fine. But I found these at Menards for like $1 and some change. And you got 4 or 6 of them. And there's my little guy. He just wanted to be next to me, so there you go. So I don't know if it's the wood from the canvases or just the fact that they're so small. I tried using my little drill bit. I could not get those things to screw on there, so I just went ahead and super glued them on there. And I'm using my Gorilla Glue it's the gel one. This is my favorite, like, super glue to use because it does set quickly and it's gel, so it's not like really runny or anything, and it holds great, and it only takes, you know, a few seconds to like set. So that's why I use this glue. So I just went ahead, ended up gluing them on there because, like I said, I could not get those little screws in there. And like I said, I didn't want to like splinter the wood or anything, so I just went ahead and did this. And I did that for both of them. You know, I glued it to one side first, and then I went ahead and put it on top of the house and glued it to the other one. You'll see what I'm going to do with it here in a second. But yeah, that's all I did with these, and it worked out great. It's holding perfectly. And I guess you could use not wood glue, you could use hot glue, but you know, hot glue and metal don't always work very well together. So I just went ahead and skipped that step and just went ahead and used the super glue. You can use E6000, you can use whatever you want. So here I am just doing that. I just wanted to show you kind of how I glued them on there. And once I was done, like I said, gluing those on there, I put them on top. Oh, next thing I did was I have this square dowel rod, and I wanted to put that along the top of the house just to add a little bit more reinforcement. I forgot about this part. And I had actually cut a few pieces to fit like along the sides to kind of split things up. And I didn't like the way it looked once it was all put together, so I ended up taking those off. And you'll see kind of in the video here and there where pieces are there and then they're not, just because they didn't work the way that I wanted to, or they didn't look the way that I wanted them to. So I removed them. But I just took my X-Acto knife, and this is really, really soft wood, so I just kind of went around the whole thing, scored it, and it breaks right off. And then I'm just going to take my sander, smooth out the edge, and I'm just going to hot glue that along the top of the house there, also to just give the top of the house some reinforcement, something to kind of sit on. And I just angled it so that the corners all matched, and you know, that's all I did with that. And like I said, it was just for extra reinforcement, something for the top lid to kind of hold on to. So yeah, I just took my hot glue and glued it on there, and it stayed perfectly. Again, you can use E6000 super glue, whatever you want to use, but my Gorilla Glue sticks work great for all of this. So you can, like I said, use whatever you want to. And I only have that Dollar Tree sign underneath it just because I wanted a base to it. This is going to have a floor, so you don't need that. But like I said, I just wanted something underneath it so that I can kind of move it around and have something to hold on to when I'm, you know, moving it. I'm not going to glue it on there or anything. It's just there kind of as a base. So this is what it looks like once I attach the top of it to it there. And then I'm going to go ahead and make like a little, I guess, doorway for the house. And I'm just going to use that same square dowel rod, cut it down, make two sides, and make the little top part of it. And then I'm going to use a popsicle stick to kind of make the base of it so that it sticks to, so I can glue it to the house. But yeah, I just took that dowel rod and I used the tumbling tower block kind of as a kind of a size comparison, so that I just kind of knew how big I wanted the door to be, because I'm going to use the tumbling tower blocks to make some little stairs. So I kind of wanted everything to be proportioned. So that's why I use a tumbling tower block. So then, like I said, I'm just going to glue everything together here, use this little popsicle stick, cut it down to size, and that's going to be the base to the door, like the door frame. Basically, that's all I'm making, is like a door frame. I wanted to make a little door that, you know, swung open, but I couldn't get the hinges in time, so I may add that a little bit later, but right now it's just going to be a door frame kind of glued to the house there as an opening. So then I was going to glue these dowel rods onto the sides there, and once I did it, I didn't really like the way that it looked. So I ended up taking them out, and I'm going to end up using those same dowel rods, cut them down to make just another little piece here to give it more stability, as you see me doing here. And then I'm going to take that same gel super glue, and I'm going to go ahead and use that to glue the door onto the house, because I Was going to use the hot glue, but I figured this would be a little bit more stable and secure in there. So then once I'm done putting all of that together, I'm going to make my little staircase in the front because I'm going to glue that onto the house. And I ended up using, I believe, 6 of them. So it was 3 on the back base, 2 in the middle, and then 1 on the front. So I glued those all together. I didn't show you all of that because I was just gluing gluing the tower blocks together. And then once I was done doing that, I glued the stairs onto the house, and I just used my hot glue for that. And some of this is out of the frame just because the house is big and I don't have a good angle. Oh, and I did take a little piece of extra popsicle stick that I had there, and I glued it to the tumbling tower blocks that are on the house just to kind of give the blocks, there's like a little gap there, just a tiny little gap, and this was a perfect size to fit there so that the tumbling tower block stairs could fit and not be wobbly or anything like that and have something to adhere to. So sorry about that. Then I just took my hot glue, glued those on there, and that was all I did for that. So then once I am done getting those stairs on there, I'm going to show you how I put or what I use to make like the windows on it. I use these sheet protectors that I got from Dollar Tree. Now, if you want to, you can use like the plastic lids from those aluminum pans that you get from Dollar Tree or anything else that you have, that's plastic that would look like a mirror or windows, not mirror, windows. You can use that, but this worked out perfectly, and I wish I would have had frames, all my frames that had the the window or the glass to match, but I just couldn't find anything that worked. So this worked out perfectly. I just hot glued it around there and it's fine. So then I went ahead, spray painted the whole house and all the pieces black. And while that's drying, I'm going to show you how I made the floor to the little greenhouse. So I took some of these bigger popsicle sticks or craft sticks and I just glued them right on to one of the signs. Now I did have to cut this sign down to fit the bottom of the house, but I didn't show that. I thought I recorded it, but I didn't. But I just measured it out and cut it down to size. So that's all I did. Then I'm going to go ahead, take these popsicle sticks and just glue them all the way across so that it looks like a wood, like plank floor. Once everything is glued on there, I'm just going to take my scissors, and I love these scissors. I get them from Harbor Freight, but I think I found a pair on Amazon. So if you want, you can check the description box. I'll link that in there in case you want them. They cut through anything like those little galvanized signs, cans, all kinds of stuff. So I just went ahead and cut all the edges off so that it was even or with the wood sign, and that's all I did with these. So I did both sides like that. Excuse me. And then once I was done cutting all of that off, I just took my hand sander and I sanded, smoothed everything out. And then I took my Craft Smart wax. This is just like the Waverly wax, except it dries a lot quicker and it's not as waxy. So I just gave that a nice coat on there, kind of made sure I covered up all the pieces that I could. And that was it for the floor. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm gonna take one of these little desks from the Dollar Tree, like wood furniture. I'm going to remove the little pegs that are supposed to be like knobs on there, and they come out pretty quick with your pliers. I just pull those straight out. And then I took one of these small popsicle sticks and I glued it, excuse me, I cut it down to size and I glued it across the front because I just didn't want that like the dresser drawer look or whatever. Excuse me. So I just went ahead and I cut down the popsicle stick and glued it to that front panel there. And after I was done doing that, I just took my little hand sander and I smoothed out the whole little desk because it was kind of rough. So I did sand it down. You didn't see me doing that, but I did sand it down because these tend to be a little bit rough, like along the edges and stuff. So the next thing that I'm going to do is take 2 more of these little small popsicle sticks and kind of measure it to see how how long I want or how big I want that backing to be. I am going to make this into like I guess like a potting bench, or like a little, not tool bench, like a little workbench for the greenhouse. So I'm just going to go ahead, cut those down to size, and then glue those onto the back. And once I'm done doing that, I have one of those, one of the grates for like the grill. And I use this oftentimes as chicken wire for like small projects like this. If I don't use netting from like an onion bag or like a mandarin bag or something like that, those make great like chicken wire or anything like that. But today I'm going to be using this little grate that I got from Dollar Tree, and it's just like I said, for your grill, like a grill topper or whatever. And that's what I'm going to be using kind of as the backing to this little tool bench, workbench, potting bench, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And I had glued this little top piece on here, but then I realized after, when I was trying to put the little grate on there, that I was going to have to take it off. So I took it off and just re-glued it on there. But I went ahead, cut a piece of this grate off, and then I just measured it out to fit on that little back part of the bench there. And this is just, like you would hang tools from or anything like that. I just thought it was cute. I wanted to make a pegboard, but then I found this little grate and thought it would look cute. So I just went ahead and used that. So then you just cut it down the size. And like I said, these scissors are great for cutting all this type of stuff. And this is metal, so just be careful when you're cutting it, because you can cut yourself. I've done it before. Thankfully, I didn't do it this time around, but I have cut myself with this stuff. So again, you just cut it down to size, and then once you cut it down to size, you just take a popsicle stick and put some hot glue on it, and that's how you're going to get the grate to stick onto the little table there. Just because, it has holes and it's metal, so just take that and glue it on and it works great. So then once I was done doing that, I went ahead and put the little top piece on there. I just took a popsicle stick and glued it to the top. I didn't even cut the edges or anything. I just left the little rounded edges on there, and it fits perfectly. It's the perfect size for it. So then once I was done doing that, I had found these little tiny eye hooks, and I thought I had showed them, but I didn't. But they're like the tiniest little eye hooks, and so I put two on the top part of it, and then I used my little hand drill that I got from Beebeecraft. I had purchased it from them, or no, they sent it to me. And it was perfect to kind of start the holes on this part of it, because it was going into the actual wood piece, so it was a little bit harder and I couldn't just do it by hand. So I went ahead, used that, put those little eye hooks in there. And again, this is just, to hang little tools or whatever, just to make it look a little bit more authentic. So there's that. And of course, you could open up the eye hooks if you wanted to and make like actual hooks, but I didn't do that because they looked fine. So as I was working with it, that back piece was kind of scratching me, so I went ahead and just took another popsicle stick and glued it along the bottom there, just so that there was no open cut edges. And this is what it looks like. So then the next thing that I'm going to do is I printed these off online, from online, and if I can find where I printed them, I've had these for a couple of months now, so I don't really remember, but I just went ahead, and they're like the bags of potting soil and fertilizer and stuff like that, and I just printed them off on my printer, and then I used packing tape. And what you're going to do is you're going to stick the piece that you cut out face, or like printed side down onto the packing tape, and then you're going to do that to both sides, and just make sure that when you put them on there, when you fold the pieces, they fit the right way, so that they're facing the right way. And then once you do that, you're just going to kind of cut around the tape and make sure that everything kind of sticks together. The way that I do it is I end up putting like my finger in, like in between the bag like this, just so that it looks like like you have something in there. Now you can fill it with coffee grounds, or if you want to put actual dirt in there, or whatever the bag is, you can do that, but I just took some paper, crumpled it up, and stuck it in there just so that it looks like there's something in the bag. And then once you're done doing that, you just fold down that tape, or actually, I think I just cut it off, but you end up just making sure that all the corners are stuck together, cut that tape off from the top. And what I did was I took just a little like light bead of hot glue and I put it along the top of the bag, and then I use my pliers, and you'll see me here doing it. Then I just use my pliers and just kind of crimp it closed, and that way the bag, stays closed. And you can do this to the sides if you want to. You can do this to the bottom. It doesn't matter. But, the bottom and the sides kind of stayed closed. But you can do this to all of them if you want to. I just wanted to make sure that this part of it stayed closed. And I did that for a couple of the bags. So you can do this to as many as you want. And then I cut down these little seed packets. They're tiny. So what I did was I took 4 of them and I put them onto one piece of tape, and it worked out a lot better. Then you just cut them down and you leave one side with the tape kind of overlapping, if that makes sense. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. There's one side there that has tape overlapping. Then you just take that tape and kind of fold it over, and it holds the whole thing closed. And you leave that top little flap with no tape on it. So you kind of put that part over the edge of the tape so that you can fold that little flap in so that it looks like an actual little seed bag. So you just take that and fold it in there. And then I did the same thing with this one that I did with the other one. I just took a little bead of hot glue, put it on the bottom, and crimped it. Now you can also, at Dollar Tree, they sell these little like tiny beads. You can put those in here to make it look like little seeds. You can, use some seasoning, anything you want, you can put in there. If you want to actually use any, make it look like there's seeds in there. All right. So the next, and I'm trying to fill as much as I can into this video as possible, but there'll be another video with other stuff that I'm going to put into the greenhouse coming soon. I just wanted to put as much as I could into this video. So then the next thing I'm going to do is just make a little, like a little bin for the seed packets. And I just took one of the bigger popsicle sticks or craft sticks and cut down 2 longer pieces and 2 smaller pieces that were the same size. And I just made, so I can make a little rectangle. And then you take one of the longer pieces, put a bead of glue on the side, take one of the shorter pieces, glue that on there. Do that to the other side with the short one, and then take the other long piece and glue that along the 2 smaller pieces. You'll see what I'm saying. It's just making a little box, a little cube there. And then once you get all 4 of those sides together, you're going to take another piece of the popsicle stick or the craft stick, and you're going to make a base for it. And, you just kind of measure it out to whatever size you need, and then you just glue it on there. And you'll see me doing that here in just a second. I'm getting ahead of myself, but here you go. I'm just, cutting it down, making a base for it just so that the little seed packets don't fall out. And you just go ahead, put another couple beads of glue along the edges there, and just stick it on there, and it sticks on perfect. It's like the perfect size. So just make sure that you measure it out so that you can do that with it. And then I was gonna like print out the word seeds, but it was too tiny, so I just went ahead and wrote the word seeds on there, and the little packets fit perfect. So then this is what the thing looks like, all spray painted in black. I went ahead, took that tape off of there, and then I'm gonna work on making the fake like glass for the walls. And again, I just hot glued those on there, and I'll just show you real quick. It's nothing, obviously, it's not rocket science, and this isn't not a necessary step, so I just wanted to show you in case you choose to do this. I just like the way that it looked, made it look like there was glass on all the sides so that it actually looked like a greenhouse. But again, if you can find picture frames that fit and have the glass in it, that would be ideal, but I didn't have any, and these picture frames were the perfect size, so I just went ahead and I made it work. So this is what it looks like with the one side on there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take the glass from the house frames and I'm gonna glue those back in there because I did remove all the little pegs or all the little fasteners that were in there because I didn't want those showing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna hot glue the window or the glass back in there. And I just put a bead of glue along all the sides of the house. And then once the glass is in there, I also put a bead of glue on the outside of it just to give it that extra reinforcement in case, just so it doesn't fall out. So I'll just go ahead and I'll show you that here in just a second. And I'm telling you guys, I absolutely love the way that this project turned out. It's probably it's now becoming one of my favorites, especially once you see it with everything in it and all it's, complete. It turns out so cute. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install the flooring. So I'm just going to take that piece and it takes some maneuvering. You do have to kind of, mess with it a little bit. I had to take a paint marker and kind of freshen up some of the pieces because some of the paint scraped off when I was trying to do this, but it's not a big deal. I just took an acrylic paint pen and kind of went over. You can take a Sharpie, anything like that. And then I put the lid on there. And what I did with the lid was I did end up hot gluing it here in just a moment. But the first thing that I'm going to do before I hot glue the top on there is I'm going to stain the little stairs in the front just so that they match like the flooring. And again, just using my Craft Smart antique wax, I just went ahead, gave it a coat. And this is what the little stairs look like once they're painted or stained. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out which side I want like to open for the top of the house. And then I'm just going to take some hot glue, put it on the side that I want to remain stationary. And I put a little bit of glue like along the top of it there. But because of the hinges being there, I didn't want to put too much of it. But I just went ahead, glued that on there. And that was it, guys. This is what it looks like. And that's it. So thank you so much. If you're new here, thank you for watching. Sorry I didn't say this before, but thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you're returning, I appreciate you. Guys, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know down below what you think about this. And if you want to see more of this stuff, you hit that like button. It lets me know that you like it. It lets YouTube know that you liked it. And this is what everything looks like once it's all put together. Some of the stuff is stuff that I made in previous projects. And some of it is just stuff, that I just kind of threw together. If you're interested in seeing how I put those together, let me know and I'll let you know. All right, so this is what it looks like, guys. Thank you again so much. And until next time, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye, guys.